Hello and welcome to the THC Show. We are broadcasting from the unceded territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and we're being generously serenaded by a drum circle outside, so that's what you hear in the background there. Welcome to the THC Show. I'm Neil Magnuson, your host. This is a show where we talk about truth, hope, and change, and THC. Both of those things are THC, but truth, hope, and change is the real impetus of what the show is all about, trying to get you the truth about what's going on with respect to your rights, freedom, cannabis, all those sorts of things. And some of that's pretty damn depressing for sure. We talk a lot about corruption on the show, and there's a lot of that. So we also try to provide some hope, because without hope we really don't do anything, and we need to be doing things about the situation that we're in here. The ultimate goal for any human being really is freedom. You want to have freedom. You want to have the freedom to do what you want, so you need financial resources. Freedom is the biggest thing going on next to air, water, and love. We really do need freedom in our life, and it makes so much of a difference. I was watching recently the series that they have, National Geographic, on Genius, and Picasso, rather, talking about the lack of freedom and how that affects an artist's ability to create. And just one example of just how important freedom is. Freedom for me is my number one goal. It's always been what it's all about. I wanted to be free from my parental bullying at the time, and got out into the world to find out that the bullies are still present all around us, mostly in the corporate world, but their tentacles reach out and bully us through our public servants, through our government, and all of that kind of stuff. And so I've been trying to achieve freedom through the legalization of cannabis for about the last 20 years. I see that as being a linchpin to the whole thing, because if cannabis can be illegal, well then, oh my God, we are certainly not free. One of the safest, most beneficial, natural occurring plants on the planet, if you're not free to access that any way that you so choose, then that's a great example of how you're not free. In fact, anybody that would be, set in a position of having to serve the public or be in charge of the public would want to make sure that the public has easy access to one of the most beneficial plants on the planet, because it's so helpful in so many ways, not just as a medium for euphoria, but so many different medical conditions can be addressed with cannabis, and so many industrial uses for cannabis as well, as a building material, as a plastic, as a textile, and on it goes. Paper, it just goes on. Cannabis is this super beneficial plant in nature that human beings have had a symbiotic relationship to for millennia. And yet now we find ourselves so kidnapped and controlled by the financial elite that we've been trying to scrape our way out of prohibition of cannabis for over 100 years now. In Canada, it's coming up to 100 years next year since the Liberal Minister Bellin stood up in the Canadian Parliament and said there's a new drug in the schedule to go along with, he didn't say to go along with opium and cocaine. That's all he said, was there's a new drug in the schedule, and he sat down and there was no debate, no discussion. Cannabis was then entered into the controlled drugs and substances side of things, and we've been fighting that ever since. There was never any justification for it in the first place, other than articles that had been written in newspapers. In Maclean's magazine in Canada, one of our Canadian suffragettes, Emily Murphy, a judge from Edmonton, she had written a book called The Black Candle, and talking about all the different dangerous and illegal substances in the world. And she had a chapter there on marijuana, called it The New Menace. Said it was a crazy drug from Mexico, coming and driving young people insane, making people violent, and causing all sorts of carnage, death from overdoses and all the rest of it. It's a crazy article. You should look it up, and you'll probably laugh. But that article is what they used as justification here in Canada to make cannabis illegal, and all of the carnage and cost that's happened ever since then could be attributed to Emily Murphy and the article that she wrote. which was based on loosely on newspaper articles being written by William Randolph Hearst down in the States. He was the big newspaper magnate back there, and he hated the Mexicans, and he wanted to use his own wood waste paper because he was a lumber baron for the newspaper that he was producing, and so he wanted to put a dent in cannabis as a competitor to the wood waste paper, and started writing stories in his newspaper about every violent thing that happened being attributed to somebody having smoked a joint before that. And all those things resulted in this absolutely disgusting and horrible prohibition or attempt to prohibit cannabis for all of these years. All of us here were born into it. We didn't know how it all happened, and all we know is, and all I knew was growing up, is that there was this stuff called marijuana that the government was spending a whole lot of money and effort on to try to make sure that people didn't get a hold of. And as it turned out, when I tried it, I was like, holy smokes, this is something I want to have in my life, because it's obviously something that is of benefit and will help me. And still, ever since then, I've been on the campaign of trying to turn that around. And it wasn't until 2004, when working on the Herb School, reading The Emperor Wears No Clothes, that I really realized the depth of the conspiracy against cannabis, the value of it for us as a society, and the cost to our society of having cannabis attempted to be prohibited. You know, we live in a world now where they're so concerned about bullies all the time, and yet the adults are willing to be bullied by governments on behalf of corporations and not do much about it. And I shouldn't say nobody does anything about it, because obviously a lot of people have. We've had quite a movement to try to legalize cannabis for a long time. We brought, you know, so many people to Sunset Beach in 2019 for 420. An incredible display of people coming out and supporting cannabis. There has been a lot of support for ending the prohibition on cannabis and for being able to use cannabis for all that it's there. There's been a huge movement for a long time within the cannabis legalization movement to at least get it legalized for people that were using it medicinally. Cannabis has an amazing ability to help people with just about everything that could be wrong with you, because it supplements your endocannabinoid system, that interior system of resistance to trauma and disease that the bodies have developed, and not just the human body, but all of the vertebrates on the planet, and some non-vertebrates have endocannabinoid systems where their body creates the exact replicas of cannabinoids to use as the oil of life, to use in dealing with the slings and arrows and the traumas and tribulations and all of those things that happen to creatures on this planet. The way that it's dealt with is through an immune system that provides anti-inflammatory chemicals and analgesic chemicals, and whatever your body needs, your body has the ability to provide pretty much. And that's through the system that they named the endocannabinoid system, because the chemistry that system produces is the same chemistry that we find in cannabinoids. And cannabinoids are not just found on the cannabis plant, they're found on numerous other plants like hops and peppers and other things throughout nature as well. It's just that they're predominantly found on the cannabis plant. That's the plant that really has such a huge variety of cannabinoids and a huge amount of cannabinoids, and that is the plant that has been helping people medicinally and euphorically and industrially for thousands and thousands of years. But this situation of us being bullied by our public servants, resulting in people not having access to cannabis, is why we started with the medical people. That the people that are sick and are suffering and really need cannabis, well, they're the ones we want to protect first. So we tried to do that. And in fact, brave people put together medical cannabis dispensary storefronts that would be proudly there selling cannabis despite breaking federal law and without municipal licenses. In Vancouver, we had between 150 and 180 of those up until about 2015. At which point the government decided, well, 2016, I guess, and then the government decided that they were going to regulate these cannabis dispensaries, these illegal dispensaries, and really it was a scheme to try to get most of them to close down, because they put in rules there about proximity to other dispensaries, proximity to schools and recreation centers. They put rules in there that took away 7 of the 8 revenue streams that a dispensary would have. They put in a $30,000 license fee annually, which is so outrageous when you consider that a normal drugstore pays about $175 a year for their licensing fee, and nobody pays anywhere close to $30,000. I mean, the highest one was $15,000 back in the day. And that was for the P&E, which happens once a year, where they have hundreds of different businesses operating under the same license. So the medical people needed to be protected first, and that's what we did. Then the opioid crisis hit. Right at the same time as the city of Vancouver was going to regulate these dispensaries. We have a crisis of a poisoned drug supply killing people that are using drugs bought on the street. It was horrible, and one of the things that was an answer to it that I realized, because we had dealt with it ourselves at the Herb School when we opened that in 2004, right at Main and Hastings. It wasn't long before we had a whole bunch of clients right from that neighborhood who would tell us that they were addicted to the hard drugs and thank us for being there and providing what they needed. And in the case of the edibles that we sold, the edibles would get them right through a night of not using the other drugs and could get them right through withdrawal. And so subsequently, over the years following, I came to know many, many dozens of people that would report that cannabis had saved their lives and got them off of those opioids. So in 2016, when the opioid crisis hit, I knew that high-dose edibles was one of the answers that needed to be made readily available. And it was extremely frustrating for me to see the city of Vancouver decide to regulate those dispensaries and in doing so take away the availability of high-dose edibles. It was the complete opposite of what needed to happen to help people have an option, a non-lethal option, to get off of those drugs and replace the use of those drugs. So I went first to VANDU, the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users, and I promoted the idea to them, and I got unanimous support from their board to go to City Council and ask for support there. I did that over a year ago, over 5 years ago now. I went to City Council and presented the idea to them of just making it as easy as possible for people to get high-dose edibles by giving them away for free. City Council wouldn't support the idea. They let me present it to them and let me walk away. And even though I tried bothering them, I had somebody lobby them for the next few months, trying to get them to accept the idea and give us support and approval. Didn't happen. But during those 3 months, I also went to different dispensaries in Vancouver, and I got support there. And so I put together a whole bunch of edibles and arrived at VANDU one day and said, hey, I've got a bunch of edibles, can I give them away? And they said, sure. So I set up some tables and we gave them away. I went back out over the next few days and got some more. And then I came back and did it again. I ended up doing it 3 Saturdays in a row, just because I kind of worked into that kind of a rhythm. I would pick up what I could find from dispensaries during the week and then show up at VANDU at noon on Saturday and hand them out. I never told anybody I was coming back the following Saturday. I really didn't know. But that's the rhythm I got into, and that is what happened. And so on that 4th Saturday when I showed up, there was quite a long lineup of people that were waiting for me to get there, and a handful of people that were there because they had heard of what I was doing and they wanted to help me. That became the Cannabis Substitution Program. In early February, it'll be 5 years since the first time I went there and started giving out cannabis. We gave it away on every Saturday for a full year. And after 52 times, a full year of never missing, we decided to go twice a week. Actually, I wanted to go 3 times a week, but VANDU could only allow me twice a week. I thought it would disperse the lineup that was getting a little bit out of hand, to change the days that we were there and to have it on 2 or 3 days instead of just the one. Instead, what we ended up getting was an equally long lineup every time we did it. And for the next 2.5 years, we gave out about 300 care packs twice a week. Professor Malloy at UBC took note of what we were doing, had his people come and research and study and interview. He ended up writing a bunch of papers on the efficacy of cannabis as a replacement for opioids. City of Vancouver Council took notice of that. Rebecca Bly, Councillor Bly, put forward a motion in 2019, June, that she would support, or that they would support, low barrier access to cannabis to address the opioid crisis, and it passed unanimously. So with that in hand, and after having a meeting with the city where we had an understanding that we would find a storefront and start doing what we were doing and then be assessed and hopefully licensed, it took us a year, and being honest with landlords about our intentions and not having permission yet from any upper level of government. But we found a storefront, the space we're broadcasting from again today. And a year and a half ago, a couple days ago, we opened up our store. Within the first 2 weeks, we didn't get the city staff coming to assess us. We got city licensing coming that were unaware of that motion and threatening us and the landlord because you can't have a cannabis store without getting provincial approval, is what they said. So we quickly applied, but federal or provincially is not where you go for what we're doing. Provincial cannabis sales, the government's cannabis sales, are non-medical by their own definition. And what we're doing in providing cannabis to people to get off of opioids is definitely a medical intervention. So we ended up applying to the federal government. We put in, thanks to great efforts by John Conroy, we put in a compelling and comprehensive application to Health Canada 14 and a half months ago, on the 16th of September, a year and a half ago. It was 1 year ago today that we had a video conference call with Health Canada, with Mr. Benoit Seguin, the fellow in charge of the Special Licensing and Exemption Division. And it was a very interesting meeting. They said their concern is that if they granted us permission to do what we're doing in providing low-cost and no-cost cannabis, that others would want to do the same thing in other places around Canada. I assured them that that was not a bad thing, that that was a good thing, that there was a lot of good political positive currency involved in supporting our children not dying from a tainted drug supply. He told us that probably early January they would have that for us. I didn't realize he wasn't talking about the coming January. And all indications is that it's not this coming January either. It's hard to say. Our last correspondence with them, several weeks ago now, was that his team is working diligently on our application every day since they got it. What is that costing taxpayers? And why would it be taking all of that work of a team of people to try to figure out, and haven't done it yet, how we can continue doing what we've been doing all this time? This is not a proposal that we need to have engineers and experts gather together and decide what might happen if we did it, and oh my goodness. We've been doing this. We've been demonstrating how it works for almost 5 years. We don't have difficulties providing people with cannabis that they need. We only have difficulties doing it from a storefront with a piece of paper on the wall with a signature that gives us permission from public servants to provide cannabis as a safe option for people. We got evicted from our store 13 months ago, over 13 months ago. But we didn't stop. We couldn't stop. We won't stop. We bought an RV, parked it out front. We've been providing cannabis from that RV, just like we would from the storefront, except we are limited in our capacity from a small RV. But we've been doing that without failing. We've been there 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, and haven't stopped for over 18 months now. We're still just waiting for Health Canada. This is corruption, and that's the only word for it. Health Canada is not concerned about whether or not we are going to hurt people in providing cannabis. 419. Almost ready to wrap it up. I hope you're almost ready with what you got wrapped up. It's corruption that's caused all of this. They're not concerned about how they could quickly as possible save a life. They're concerned about money. They're concerned about how can they tell the people that they've given licenses to sell cannabis to that now they're going to give a license to somebody to sell cannabis at much more reasonable prices, or even give it away for free. It's going to hurt the bottom line of those licensed stores. That's what they're afraid of. That's what's going to be harmed. They're not concerned about your sons or daughters or brothers or sisters, mums, dads, aunts, uncles, people that are actually dying, people that are sick and could use low barrier access to cannabis. This legalization of cannabis has scared the shit out of medical users. They're beside themselves scared about how they're going to get what they need. They used to have storefronts they could walk into and get high-dose edibles and topicals and suppositories and concentrates and things that would help them. And now they're wondering how they're going to get it. Now they're dealing on the underground market again. Now they're the prey of people who want to take advantage of sick and suffering people that need something that the government won't let them have. It's sick and disgusting, and it's all because of corruption. There is no other excuse for it. There is no other word to describe it. This is corruption through and through, running right to the highest level of the Canadian government. 420. As always at 420, I'm joined by Glenn Wells, 8 out of 10 Glenn from CannaMatch.ca.
Yeah!
My smoking partner.
Happy 420.
Happy 420. Happy 420 to you. I hope you have something worth rolling up, some magical vapors of some sort.
18 months and you're still saving lives. 18 months and Health Canada is still delaying you from saving even more lives.
Well, 14 and a half on their behalf.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, okay.
That's when we sent in our application. In 2 days it'll be... in 2 days it'll be 15 months, right?
Oh,
September, October, November, December, January. Oh,
it's December right
September, October, November, December. 15 months.
Wow.
15 months coming up in 2 days.
Wow. And they keep delaying and delaying them. Now
well,
we can call them and they can say, "Oh, we got Christmas." And
yeah, they don't say much unless we send them things. Mr. Conroy has been pretty good about sending them, you know, new studies that come out that say again that what we're doing, you know, is the right thing.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, when he does that, they'll answer him back.
Yeah.
And that's when they say stuff like, "Well, be rest assured, we're working hard. Your money is being spent well."
We got like we were discussing. I wish we could go knock on their door and bring them coffee and donuts for that team that's working so hard, eh?
We have good people in high places, working diligently.
Bring them some Timmies.
Maybe they're just good. Maybe they're just high people in good places.
Yeah, really. Wow, that's a good one today. Yeah. So, how about those Canucks, eh? Look at that.
We have a complete regime change in Vancouver. Everything in the past is now gone and forgotten.
People are getting on the bandwagon again. They are.
Tell me again there's no chance they can make the playoffs.
I think there's a chance. It's always before January.
There's a chance.
Yeah, the playoff run usually starts after the All-Star game, isn't it?
St. Louis did it a couple of years ago. They went from last to first.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the Canucks are going to do that.
No, but even when we go
the chances are slim. That usually doesn't happen.
Is even better, right? You know,
it would be awesome. It would be amazing if they make the playoffs now. It'll be because they've had one heck of the last 50 games. You know.
Yeah, and I think they will.
I hope they do.
Yeah.
There's a new energy around the team for sure. Bruce Boudreau is a positive guy.
And our new
Mr. Rutherford is a seasoned veteran. General manager.
Came out of retirement to do this.
Well, he was about to retire. Yeah, he had decided he was going to retire.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, and I got a report.
Canucks.
I got a report from the London people.
From Mr. Milano.
Yeah, William there. It says another sunny, fabulous day. Roughly 180 people came by, found some warm clothes and coats, gloves, hats, etc. No video today.
That's not William Milano. That's William Hicks.
Yes, that's the London, Ontario
guy. London, Ontario guy.
That's what I said. You said William Milano. I just went with it.
Well, because you told me earlier that you had something from him.
No, from William.
And I thought you were talking. I actually thought you were talking about Leo Lucifer.
No. Who
was going to have something for us this week, perhaps?
Well, he's at work. Remember, he works at this, but he will let us know when he's got his Christmas break.
So he's going to give us something that we can talk about.
So this is from London,
It's
Ontario.
just my senility kicking in.
Yeah, it's just the William thing, right?
Hi, William.
Yeah. So
great job, man.
Thank you to the sisters D&M for all they do, and the ARC for your donation. Took them an hour, and we had a happy giving. They were all happy giving away, and they'll see us next week, 12 till 12.
Wonderful.
12 noon. On 420 Elizabeth Street. All right, on 420 Elizabeth Street, eh?
So what that is the Cannabis Substitution Program in London, Ontario, that was started by Mary McCarty several months ago now. And they're doing a fine job of getting care packs of cannabis high-dose edibles to people. Also in Halifax, Chris Backer has a cannabis substitution program going there. They're coming right up on 2 years now since they've been doing theirs, doing a fabulous job. They never miss. Every Monday they're there doing their thing. A couple hundred people get care packs, and a whole bunch of people helping out in both of those places. And big thank you to all of those people that are helping make that possible.
On to Winnipeg.
Yeah, we'll be. You can just wait for our report. We'll tell you when she's got something going there. But she's in the middle of putting some of that stuff together, meeting with people, and
I probably would think that she'll probably start in the spring when it's a little bit warmer. I know she's used to the winters there, but being that she has to get everything ready.
We'll see how it goes. The need doesn't wait until spring. That's how I felt about it when I was starting it here in Vancouver. February was cold, it was winter time, but it didn't matter. I mean, that was never a consideration actually on my part. The consideration is how can I get enough donations to give out, and then how can I do this?
I'm just thinking of the
I put all that together.
40s and 50s that they do have.
Yeah, Winnipeg might be different.
They don't want to encourage people to come out in the cold. This is one thing. A cold here in Vancouver is a little bit but when it gets more than minus 40, minus 50 out there, they tell people to stay inside.
I will not hold it against Mary if she considers the cold as a factor as to when to start.
Yes,
it is a whole different animal.
I've been there when it's minus 40.
They don't call it winter peg for nothing.
No.
They call this the wet coast, and that's winter peg.
Yeah.
Wet coast people can maybe handle a lineup in the winter time. Winter peg people, not so much. We don't want to risk anybody's life getting into a lineup. But and the universe will probably provide in the right way for that anyway. It's funny how when you do these sort of things,
a heated spot where she won't have to ever worry about that.
Yeah, maybe there's a way around it.
It's just having people come there, because if they're homeless and stuff, they won't be taking buses or cars or stuff, right?
These are the things that Mary and the people around her are thinking about as we speak. I'm sure the logistics of how to make it work, and good on her for doing that, and everybody else that's doing this and making it work.
Awesome. And I've heard whispers that Sterling might start one in Saskatchewan, so.
I want to give a big shout out to Sterling anyway. He did his Doobs and Tubes things recently here.
See the lineup he had?
Huge lineup of people. And food and other things that we're giving out there. I mean, just a wonderful, wonderful idea, Sterling. Thank you so much. We're very happy to carry it on here in Vancouver, having started it and all. We'll never forget that. And great idea that was. And and what that is Tubes and Doobs is we're going to have a sock giveaway like we did last year. It's a second annual for us as well. And we're going to give away socks and doobies and hot chocolate food and lots of different things are going to be given out.
Hopefully lots of different things, yes.
In the spirit of Christmas. That'll happen on the 21st, which is 1 week from today.
So Cabela seems to have pulled through. They may have some socks for us. That's good. So we'll be buying $500 worth of socks. We've raised $200. $250. We've raised $250. Sorry.
we could use more. We're hoping we get more. Whatever we get, we'll go back to the people.
We'll send you the link. We'll put the link up there for the GoFundMe. Even if like $5 or $10, it doesn't matter. It all helps out. If you give us $25, you get a T-shirt, right? No.
Yeah. Wow.
We've only given away one T-shirt. Should I show it?
It's right there.
Yeah.
We haven't sent it yet. I'm sorry about that.
No.
we're getting on that.
So we're at $25. We will send you a T-shirt. There you go. And it even says crew on the back.
Yeah, you get to be part of the crew.
You get part of the crew. Yeah. There you go.
Your own cannabis substitution program. Don't mess it up too much for shipping that one out.
Help us out. There we go. Fold it nicely.
So we're taking donations. I'm sure there's going to be a link in the chat or something.
Yeah, I'll put one up.
And a way to do that. You can get a hold of us at the Cannabis Substitution Program. And we sell these as well. We sell these hoodies. We sell the shirts. $25 minimum donation will get you a hoodie. And that's for the CSP.
Oh, Jay Frost says he'll take one. There we go. We got another $25 right there.
There we go.
Thank you, Jay Frost.
Good.
Nice.
So, what else we got? How's CannaMatch doing?
Good. I'm just waiting for somebody to do that commercial. Well, an online commercial, not like a TV commercial. I could never afford a TV commercial. But
online is fine. You can target the different places where it goes.
Yeah,
as well.
And people can share it, right? Where I'm not having to, pay as much.
So
right?
CannaMatch.ca is pretty much what it sounds like. But it's much more than just a dating site. I mean, you can probably find a life partner there or a short-term partner there, whatever you're looking for. But it's also a way for people to connect that are just cannabis lovers, and especially if you're traveling in a new town, or if you're in a place where you don't have a good hookup for cannabis, maybe somebody on CannaMatch can help you with that.
Yeah.
So it's a really good resource for the community to keep together. Check it out, CannaMatch.ca.
Yeah.
What does it cost to join?
Nothing.
There's over 4,200 members.
Yeah, all like-minded people.
There you go.
Yeah, it's really
all
growing.
with minds that you would like.
Yeah, like mine.
Like-minded people with minds that you would like. So, what else can you tell us? Is there anything else? So you got the app. I'm going to turn my volume down here before we get a phone call.
Yeah, we were talking about the Canucks doing well. We almost covered everything. 1 year ago, you done your video with. I was here for that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Now when I turn it on, it's making noise already at me.
Oh wow, you're a popular man. Oh, we could talk about Jack's Garage. Guys, check out on YouTube in the search bar.
So imagine I've never seen it. Tell me about it.
Jack's Garage?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Jack was... this is the film that the pharma company does not want you to see. This is a Canadian film. These are Canadian doctors in Toronto and in Kingsville and everything. So Jack was dying. The doctors kept giving him pills and pills and pills to the point where he was on 22 different pills in a day.
Wow.
They said he only had like 6 months to go.
Right.
So he went home and he started growing and making his own medicine, man. And he had diabetes, he had heart condition, he had all the kind of stuff that they was going to kill him. He made his own medicine, started taking it, changed his diet to just fruits and vegetables, and he's still alive today.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that
and
sounds like my good friend Brian Carlisle, who also had several life-threatening conditions a few years ago. Started using hero doses of cannabis and psychedelics as well, mushrooms as well, and changed his diet completely. Took out sugar, took out meat. And now he's healthier than he's probably been in many years.
This guy's
Looking
in
good.
Kingsville, Ontario, so it's all done in that.
Well, maybe we can drop in on him on our trip. We'll see how that works.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
It's something to pencil in.
He almost looks like a Tommy Chong. He's got a Tommy Chong face, the beard, and stuff like that. But he's a little bit wider, not as skinny as Tommy would be, right? But
you and I are going to be the real Cheech and Chong if we make that trip.
Especially if we do it in a Tesla. That'll be a first.
Well, I was more thinking about an RV made out of weed.
Oh, yeah, well, I think we can pull over for that one. That would be driving while intoxicated.
We'll just light the bumper on fire, and inhale the magical vapors as we drive. Tommy and Cheech, they were great comedians. They put out a lot of albums. They did a lot of live shows and stuff. And I would imagine hanging around with them if they were on the road driving from place to place. It was a pretty stoner trip.
I bet it would be, eh?
But yeah, we'll do similar things. Myself with the Freedom Tour, especially that last year.
Jack looks like Santa, Mike says. Yeah, he does kind of. Yeah. It was a really.
Santa's got to be a stoner.
It's a 35-minute video, people. There's part 1, part 2, and then there's an extras video too. You can find it on my wall. I put it up there. I didn't get blocked for it.
Yeah, I posted it as well.
Yeah, it's really a good movie. I really like that.
There's a few good movies and things out right about now.
Yeah, but most of it's American. It was nice to see a Canadian, and nice to be seeing Canadian doctors supporting cannabis and what Jack has taught them and everything. So, and these doctors are telling people to go see Jack. And it says right in the beginning, this is not medical advice, but this is just his experience.
So, by the way, we at the Cannabis Substitution Program are trying to comply with the federal desire for us to have only legitimate cannabis. And in doing so, we want to get some of our members qualified. They do qualify for using cannabis as a replacement for opioids, absolutely. And almost all of the people that we're helping out that are part of our program have also underlying medical conditions, many of those which were the drivers of their opioid use before becoming part of our program. And so we need to get them qualified so that we can, as a society, we can have designated growers within our society grow for them. It would really help us in our ability to help the neighborhood with what we're doing here. But we're running into an obstacle because the Canadian Medical Association is putting a lot of pressure on doctors to not prescribe more than 5 grams a day. And for people that have serious underlying medical conditions and are trying to replace the use of opioids and hard drugs, they need more than 5 grams a day. And especially if they're using it in the form of edibles, they need more than 5 grams a day. So at this point, what we need is an activist doctor. That's what I'm calling him.
Yeah.
Somebody that will buck the Health Canada's ridiculous regulations on. And cannabis is not OxyContin. Cannabis, you can't overdose on cannabis. And so the Canadian Medical Association being all bent out of shape about people having more than 5 grams of just dried flowers. That helps people if you bake it into brownies. It helps you with your pain or your sleep issues or whatever's going on. And if people need more than that, Health Canada should be making sure people get that, not making sure they can't have it. Opposite backwards world we live in here makes me really upset. Health Canada, community safety unit. You know? These things are completely, misnamed.
From us violent, deranged, pot-smoking people, right?
It's crazy.
It is.
So, and another one that I've been watching recently is Dope Sick. You've been watching that as well. There's another episode coming out tomorrow. I wish I could just watch them all. I'd like to know what the end result is.
Don't watch them for a while, and then you can catch up, okay?
I want to know now. I want to be able to tell you now more of what's going on here with what this movie is exposing.
It is really good.
This is about OxyContin flooding the market by Purdue Pharma and how that happened, how they managed to get the FDA, some obscure clerk in the FDA, to sign off on putting a separate category for OxyContin as being non-addictive, because they said it only addicted 1% of the people that were involved with it, because it had a coating on it that would make it time release and over the course of 12 hours. But, the time release coating was easily bypassed by street people who figured that out pretty fast. And all that happened was Purdue made billions of dollars on this drug that they released. And right when they were about to lose 70% of their revenue because the federal government were clamping down on the prescription of opioids, which was already out of control. And Vicodin was the big one at the time. And so the Purdue company comes up with OxyContin, which they can get reclassified as being non-addictive, and it knocks the hell out of the Vicodin sales. And it replaces it with an even more powerful opioid that was addictive to as many people as any other opioid, because they took the coating off. And oh my God!
And now we found out last week that Purdue lied.
Well,
so the FDA...
They knew all the way through.
Showed on that chart, remember, 80, 90, and 100 was so squeezed up?
Yeah.
The guy at the desk said, we did not see this chart.
That's right.
The chart that they gave to their sales reps were wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
They made it look like there was just a small curve of how it released its stuff.
Government gave them
and
their
that's because they
authorization.
had condensed the top portion of the graph and
and
other sneaky stuff that they did. I mean, they absolutely knew they were killing people. Is the point?
Yeah.
That is the point.
That right now. That's why you take pills for pills.
Absolutely knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they wanted to pretend that this is wonderful. We get to help people with their pain, and we're curing millions of people of their pain, and it's good that we're making $1 billion a year on that.
We're going to go after the abusers because they're the ones who are going to stop these people from getting pain medication, right? But yet they're the ones who created the abusers.
And to be fair, I mean, opioids do help people, and people do need to have relief from pain, and we need to have these things able and available properly. Opioids are not meant for long-term chronic pain issues at all. You build a resistance to them as you go. You need to take more and more and more. Opioids are not a replication of your indigenous cannabinoid system. They shut down your lungs, your respiratory system, your heart when you overdose. That's why you die. So, we need to have reason involved in this. We need to have proper ethics involved. Ethics, eh?
Yeah.
Ethics. I mean, I always talk about the difference between human ethics and business ethics.
Yeah.
But there's
it's not personal, it's business.
There's a separate category of ethics which involves the medical community and what it means to be a doctor when you're in that position of influence and power over somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an even higher standard of ethics that needs to be involved there. I mean, their credo is do no harm. Do no harm. Well, by denying people cannabis, by going with the opioids first and cannabis not at all, they're doing lots of harm.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of harm. I think that could be clearly demonstrated. I think that's actionable for any lawyers that are out there that want to think about that. That in restricting access to cannabis, and in the medical profession, having their default being drugs that have known addictive quantity, known potentials for abuse, instead of prescribing a non-lethal, non-addictive substance like cannabis, I mean, there's been serious harm done. And I think that can be documented. I think that could be actionable. So, lawyers out there think about that.
That's why they're winning, because Purdue has been told to pay out lots of billions of dollars.
Oh, they've lost lots of lawsuits.
They've lost
personal lawsuits.
Now
they were convicted.
Canada's going to go after them too. So.
They were convicted, on several counts. Felonies within the United States. Yeah. It's
wow, man. Money will make people do almost anything.
And it's money that drives all of this. I recently saw the.
And it's because they're so rich, they don't see it. They only hear about it. If they were actually down on the east side and could see this every day, I think their thinking might change a bit. Because if you're human, and it's going to be either play back in your mind. You might not have any.
Well, you nailed it,
yeah.
Glenn. I mean, it's about being human.
Yeah.
Human means that you have a unique belief system from everybody else.
Yeah.
What you believe, then all the different facets of all the things you believe probably doesn't line up completely with anybody else, because there's thousands and thousands of things that you get to have opinions on and beliefs about. You're not right about all of them.
No.
Nobody is.
Nobody is.
But you think you are. You will defend all of them in an argument with somebody. You will ignore information that might be right there and crystal clear that you're wrong about something.
Oh, really?
It's the human condition.
I've tried to change that part about me. I'll listen.
Right, but that confirmation bias that people have, the ways that we look at things that support our own belief systems, this is the human condition. And so, you know, if you buy a car, for example, when you're looking through a magazine, you'll just skip right past the ads for the car you didn't buy.
Yes.
But when you get to the car company that you bought, now you're reading the whole thing. You know, it's just the way we are. And human beings are like that. It's ego, it's bias, it's a fear of being wrong.
When you're driving that car that you just bought, you see all the
you
other
notice
cars.
the other ones around.
But when you were driving your old car, you weren't noticing those ones, right? Yeah.
We have ways of generalizing information, ignoring and avoiding information, twisting and contorting information to make it fit with our belief systems. We run around throughout life afraid that we're wrong, not wanting to be wrong.
No.
You're believing all of these things.
If I'm wrong.
I like being wrong. I wouldn't like it if I'm wrong about everything.
No.
I only like it when I find out that I'm wrong about something.
Yeah.
Because then I can be right about one more thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, me too, right?
Or at least I can know that I was wrong and maybe now try to find out what the truth is.
Yeah, and admitting that you made it wrong, even after you made that wrong, is a good thing. You don't have to stick up for yourself.
That's more doing something wrong than just believing something wrong.
Okay. Well, you might believe
admitting that you've done something wrong is usually the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's always the right thing to do, but usually it's the right thing to do.
Well, I come back to people and said, well, I've done some more research and I found out I was wrong.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
you
absolutely.
were right about what you said.
These days, you don't have to walk away and do research. You just pick up and go, hey, Google. Don't say that. Don't say that.
See, it's not listening. It didn't work.
Didn't work.
Just when you thought they were listening.
Yeah, I think that they'll catch you.
They'll catch you.
Because they might not have noticed it right then and there, but it's all now in the memory bank. So they'll go back if they wanted to check it. They go, oh yeah.
How many people are on the planet? 7 billion?
7 billion.
You think they got enough people to be
you think they care about me?
7 billion conversations?
I thought about that today, actually. I thought about that today.
They don't have the people to do that. I explain Google as it's your child or your mother or your father. You're waiting for them to call your name.
Well,
you're always listening, but you're not tuned in.
If they had to have a human being listening to whatever a person was saying, looking for things,
you think that'd be crazy?
It'd be impossible.
Yeah, I know.
It'd be completely impossible.
So that's why they look for certain words.
That's right.
Right?
So they have algorithms.
Yes.
Machines are getting smarter and smarter every day. In fact, the curve of how much smarter every day is amazing. And
but we teach those machines.
Right, and they're being taught to listen for phrases, listen for keywords, and they know certain people that they're more interested in listening to and listening in on than other people, of course, right? I'm sure they have all kinds of union leaders and media people on lists, activists, doctors, there's people that are of more interest to... I'll go with the evil empire. I mean, that was a way that we described back at the herb school, the evil empire. This group of financial elite corporate families and individuals and groups that are using business ethics in how they run their businesses. And they want to know, because information is power, so they're collecting data on everybody. They have an agenda of controlling people, of many of these things. Getting them to buy their product is the obvious one, but there's a lot of political coercion going on as well that is within the agenda of these groups that we're talking about. Another short documentary, less than an hour, that you'd like to watch for sure is called Monopoly. Who owns the world? You have to be specific when you're looking it up on YouTube, because the owners of YouTube maybe don't want you to see this either. But yeah, man.
When you do, I was just thinking that now. There's something in the news that sparked a thought. China has just gone after the 3 top companies in there and gave them major fines because they were getting too much of a monopoly. And they're all saying that this was wrong, you know, there's human rights and they shouldn't have done that. But he says that he's going after them because they're getting too strong. So now you're talking about these companies here that have the top 1%, those Vanguard and other companies, right?
Vanguard doesn't own China.
I know, but our government is not taxing them, saying, hey, you're doing too much, you're owning too much, we're not going to give you this power. And that kind of intrigued me. It's like, well, maybe this guy is a smart man, yes, because...
it's hard to know, eh? I mean, we've certainly been told that China's bad, and when you look at them...
But if you look at them in that sense...
And I'm sure that in some ways they are, in the way that they control their people.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're not pussies like our governments are.
No.
Our governments are total pushovers to these corporate elite. They probably because they've put themselves into compromising situations.
He's seeing exactly what you're seeing, but he's the president of China, and he can do something about it, basically, right?
Your mom?
No, it's my daughter. She wants those sticks.
Yeah,
she knows I'm here. I don't know why she calls, but maybe she's like your son. He knows when you're online. We gotta give him a call, right?
Maybe he's doing it for attention. Well, he hasn't done it for a while.
No, he's been pretty good. I think he's got it down pat now.
For a while there, he seemed to, and he doesn't call me all that often, but typically Tuesday between 4 and 6 was.
Yeah, and that's the day after you just saw him too.
Yeah, and always the day after I just saw him. Life is funny. Thank God for humor, you know.
Yeah.
Humor gives us hope.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and we need hope.
Yeah.
We need hope. I mean, I think they may be able to have algorithms. They got a whole bunch of things figured out. They're very sophisticated about all these sorts of things. But human beings are very resilient as well. We're not all stupid as hell, although you wouldn't know it in some ways. But, you know, we have gotten this far, and we have managed this far to not all be locked down as slaves. We have managed to demand some things. You know, there's been protests that have made differences. I don't like how the corporate world continues to bully us and get their way more than they should. Mm-hmm. But, you know, that we still have hope. I still do have hope that, you know, because people keep smoking weed. They threw so much at it.
Still have the will of man, too. Right?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. The will of man to continue to smoke weed.
I mean, just keep going too, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't give up too easily. We could get beat down.
Well, not only that, you know, freedom being this so valuable a thing, is a desire that we have on a real base level. Mm-hmm. And when human being like growing up is all about getting free.
Yeah.
You know, all about figuring out how you can get to that next level where you can be allowed to do what the bigger kids are doing.
Or learning how to be free. You just got to learn how to cook and stuff like that from your parents.
Well,
and stuff,
sure.
Right? Learning how to live that free life. Yes. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all things skills that we need to master to be able to, you know, freely go through your day without having to spend all of your day trying to figure out how to eat.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever else it is. You know, all these good strategies we have. But the point for me is that we have this extremely strong desire to be free.
Yeah.
And we seek it out. I mean, if we find out, if you notice that you're not free, that's when it starts to bug you.
That's why I want to live on the island.
Right? Because you're confined a little bit.
Because I know that I can get out of my house and hitchhike across Canada like I have done so many times and hitchhike home again. If I live on the island, I can't do that because at 11 o'clock the ferry is stopped.
Right.
Right? I'm stuck there, right? I'm not free, and my brain knows that, and it won't let me live there, right?
Well, for a while we couldn't get past Hope, although we can't
anyways. Highway 3 is essential only.
Can't go south either, really, unless you're double vaccinated, and even then, I mean, now we got a whole big outburst of vaccinated people getting something.
I had a friend that wanted me to come out to Kamloops, and I can't even get out there.
Yeah,
so you can't drive. I couldn't take a bus because I have a medical mask, but I can fly, which is
I'm determined to be free.
Yeah,
I would be free if I was stuck on the island. I would be free if I was stuck in my house.
Right, yeah,
and I'd be free if I was stuck in a cage. Because
Okay.
I demand it, and I will be it, and they will not stop me from freely thinking whatever I want to think.
Yes. I've been in
Except
a
that
cage.
if I notice that I'm in a cage, which I wouldn't, you see, and that's how I'd be free. Because I would travel off into my imagination, and I wouldn't look at my bars.
No.
I wouldn't think about that.
I read books.
Because I can think about whatever I want to think about.
Yeah.
And I would think about something other than being caged. But if I started thinking about being caged, well, then it would be a problem.
Yeah.
And then I would start doing everything I could to get out of that cage. It's a funny thing, you know, and so here's my point, is that the governments are forcing us to think about things. They're putting an elephant in the room and saying don't think about
Yeah.
it. And they're
making it
forcing
pink.
us. And they're making it pink. And they're making it fly.
Yeah. It's got big ears.
A flying pink elephant in the middle of the room.
With a feather in his trunk.
I love weed. I love weed. Well,
Well, what we can do with weed.
I like Dana Larson and his
me too.
speeches about how much he loves weed.
I like his books.
Yeah, and his books. And
Yeah.
what did he come up with recently here about the Coca-Cola company?
Oh, really?
Did you see that?
No.
Okay, so we've known, I think everybody pretty much knows,
Oh,
that
well, I think
Coca-Cola
they did,
originally was using coca leaves.
Yep.
It had the alkaloids for cocaine
Yeah.
that were included in the drink. It wasn't actually cocaine. It hadn't been turned into cocaine, but it was the alkaloids that were there. And the coca plant, those alkaloids and the other associated alkaloids do give a person a high, do give you a boost.
Yeah.
That's why it's so popular
So does coffee.
in South America and other places where they use it. In fact, he talks in his article about how in the past where communication was done by people running from village to village, town to town, many times hundreds of miles. And the way that they could do that was by having a set amount of coca leaves to chew, and then they'd get that far on that mouthful of chewing coca leaves, and then they'd need to replenish it, and they would get another boost to get them going. The coca plant has been a valuable part of medicine and people's lives in helping them cope with fatigue, injury, and other things for a very long time throughout many cultures. But when the whole drug scare started to happen in the United States back at the turn of the century and just before that, certainly opium, because of the troubles that they were having with opium as Britain was depositing opium all around the world and getting people addicted on it, and it had become a real problem. They also decided that cocaine was a problem. And here's the Coca-Cola company that's using the coca leaf.
Yeah, and their drinks.
They were, by that time, they were extracting that alkaloid for cocaine out of the formula. They were allowed to, by law, divert a third of that to the dentistry industry because they were using it as anesthetic.
Novocaine.
Yep. And still to this day, they have that arrangement going on.
Wow.
What I didn't know was how much they worked behind the scenes to enable themselves to have that position where the worldwide prohibition on cocaine has resulted in them having a monopoly on the coca drink, the only coca drink that's allowed.
Yeah.
There's in Colombia, there has been attempts on at least 3 different occasions to come up with a drink that people could consume that had coca in it. And right away, the DEA jumps in there and shuts that all down.
Wow.
To protect the Coca-Cola company's interest, who have long, very rich tentacles going out into all the places of influence.
Wow.
They are one of the richest companies in the world. Of course, also primarily owned by Vanguard. But still, crazy, man.
Wow.
The world is being denied access to the coca plant and all that it could provide for people
because of the Coca-Cola.
Because of the Coca-Cola company.
Wow. Wow.
The corruption in this world continues
basically
to
what the
boggle
U.S.
my
did
mind.
by having the U.S. patent on THC, but told everybody it was bad for us, right? On cannabis, right? Or is it cannabis or THC? They have a patent for. I think it's just THC.
Yeah, it's THC.
Yeah. So they knew, right? And they control it, but they told everybody it's bad for you, and there you go. So
when are we going to get an apology?
Wow.
I mean,
wow. Wow. Yeah.
Look how far things have flipped.
Yeah.
I mean, do we remember 20 years ago what it was like? You know, how harshly they were treating anybody with cannabis? How many people went to jail for long periods of time?
I was probably doing weekends 20 years ago.
For cannabis.
No.
Or whatever drug
36,
it was.
Yeah,
this
it was
drug
in
war
my 20s,
against the
30
coca
years ago.
plant, against the opium plant, all to protect private interests, never to protect the public.
Nope.
I mean, and now they've flipped so far with on the cannabis file.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
And you know what? You said something that interests me too. You said that the big companies are afraid of losing money to low barrier cannabis. Right now, they're not making that much money anyways because these people are low income,
And
right?
they're blaming it on us.
No, are they blaming it on us?
Sure, but they're blaming it on the underground marketplace that continues to provide cannabis for Canadians that don't want to go to those stores for many good reasons. They want the government to clamp down on everybody that's not part of their club, part of their cartel.
Wow.
Yeah, and some of them are actively advocating for that. Shame on them, criminals. On the other hand, we have some good people in the industry. I got so many mixed emotions, I'll tell you. You know, Don and Carol, great friends of mine, great friends of the movement for so long. They've now gotten their second license. They've reopened their weed store, this time with a government license and all LP government weed at Slocan and Kingsway.
And
you know, I'm happy for them if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have them operating a government store than maybe other people that would not have the heart and soul that they have.
Yeah.
I know them to this day, excellent people.
Yeah.
Also with real mixed emotions about where they're at. Forced to be where they're at by a government that has, you know, led those people that want to provide cannabis down that road. If you want to do it, you're going to have to get licensed or we're going to come after you. They already paid huge fines, hundreds of thousands of dollars that Weeds had to pay in fines to the CSU in cash. Figure that one out.
Yeah.
You know, because of their previous illegal activity. And so, you know, to be able to continue their passion of providing cannabis, that's the path they had to go down. They're hopeful.
Is there any rules about them just giving it away?
Of course.
There is?
Of course.
Oh, the government says you can't do that?
No.
So once they buy their stuff for their store, it's not theirs. They can do with
Carol
it.
has now been responsible for a recall that's coming up, and there's a few more coming up down the road as a result of her investigations into what it is they're forcing them to sell.
Yeah.
To be able to do that, they have to buy the product sealed in containers, open it, never sell it again, test it, and then find out about it. There has been lots that have been found that aren't up to standards.
Oh, yeah.
Lots.
Yeah.
And the story for most of it is, don't worry about it, sell it anyway.
Yeah.
We won't take it back from you.
I know.
But she has managed to get a recall now for one recently, and as I said, there's a few more coming.
Oh, that's good.
As a result of their
investigations. So when there's a recall, then they can get their money back.
I would think so.
Yes,
I would think so.
That's the same with a lot of things, like insurance and stuff won't cover anything until there's a recall.
Yep. I would imagine that's the case.
Yeah, then they have to get.
You know, depending on how much they spent on that particular product, anyway. I mean, the recall would then be from all the other stores that would have it.
So if they can't sell it, what do they do? Is it sitting in a dark closet somewhere?
I want to get them on the show. I don't know how much they're able to talk about. I know they're willing. But there's things they're not able to talk about.
Do they follow under the same rules as you can give away 30 grams a day?
Well, as Canadian human beings, I think they can.
Yeah, maybe not from the store. Not from the store, but yeah.
And I would again want them to be commenting on these things and what those rules are. We need another Freddie Pritchard. Freddie, are you out there?
Freddie!
We need someone like Freddie who will dive deep into all of, because there's a whole bunch of them, man. There's so many pages and they're complicated.
Freddie's working for the Vancouver film industry right now, so
good for him.
He's doing well. Yeah, I think he's working on Batwoman.
Nice.
Yeah, I think he's on my friend's list. I see posts about it. Yeah, so that's really cool.
Good for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did some great work in exposing that the Liberals were not planning on giving us the legalization that we were hoping for, and he was certainly right about that. And now I would like somebody that's really up to speed on all the different rules and regulations that these stores have to go by.
Yeah.
I know that the government has some of their own stores that they're operating, and then there's stores like Don and Carol, or owned by people like Don and Carol who have gotten licenses.
Yeah.
The government stores, there can be up to 20 government stores or something like that.
Yeah.
And whereas the other private stores are only allowed to have 8 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Don't quote me on the numbers.
In a city or in an area?
Yeah, there again, I'm not sure of the geographical limits on all of that. I only know that Carol is upset with the discrimination against the private owners of these government licensed stores. That the government is definitely has an advantage, and I think it's in more than just how many locations they're able to have as well. In any case, I'm glad. I'm happy to have good people. In that industry, if there has to be that industry the way that it is, I'm glad there's good people there. Don is going to do whatever he can. I know that. I hope Redbeard, I'm sure, is going to do whatever he can. Ramo is going to do whatever he can. Many of these good people that have moved over, Chris Goodwin included, I know he means well, and I know that they want to, and there is room for good, high-priced connoisseur cannabis out there.
Better B is another one too. That's the Beard Brothers, right?
There's lots of them, and I'm not saying that there shouldn't be high-priced cannabis. There should be high-priced cannabis because some growers are so damn good at it, and they're willing to spend whatever money it takes to produce the very best cannabis. It is hundreds of dollars a pound, especially if you're paying indoor hydro bills, to produce some, like a couple $100 a pound, depending on the scale that you're growing in, to produce a pound of that cannabis. But the expertise of the person involved makes it so in demand for people. And I'm a free market person. Supply and demand should drive things. If
you're making
I'm not going to name names, but if you're growing super quality bud, you're going to have a following of people that are going to pay whatever the price is for that, and you deserve to make really good money.
Because when you smoke only a quarter of that joint, you feel like you smoked a joint of the other person's
There's
stuff.
That argument as well, that it's worth that extra money because it's that much better. There is that argument. That is real, and that needs to be able to be part of the marketplace here. But that cannot be the only access in the marketplace to cannabis. Poor people that are wanting to get economic, cannabis that's really good, that's still cheap, they need to be able to get that, and growers need to be able to produce that for people. They can. They want to. They would. If you're not using hydro, if you're growing in a hybrid greenhouse or even just a regular greenhouse or outdoors, it doesn't cost any more to grow that particular crop as it does to grow any other crop that our farmers are producing. Farmers find economic ways to produce their crops. They find ways to maximize their yields, to maximize the square footage that they're growing within, all of that. And they should be able to do that with cannabis as well. It's fine to have people that are trying to maximize the quality of cannabis. That's great. We want lots of those people. We want super great cannabis out there for people to have. We want the millionaires and the celebrities and all the rich athletes to be able to go and spend a ton of money to get this brand name cannabis that is just so kick-ass good. That's great. That's fine. How would it be if the marketplace excluded that? How would it be if the marketplace said, no, only cheap cannabis. You have to keep the cannabis under $10 a pound. Nobody gets to produce higher. That would be ludicrous. That would be ridiculous. People would be up in arms. That wouldn't make any sense. Well, it makes just as little sense to exclude the poor people and people that would like to have economically grown cannabis because it's easy to grow economically grown cannabis. They need to be included in this marketplace. That's what the government has to do. They're scared of low barrier access. They're scared of allowing the non-legal market to provide cannabis because they know that they're going to undercut the legal market always because they can. They need to be included. They need to be undercutting everybody else because they can in a legal marketplace so that they can get the best cannabis at the cheapest price to the people that don't have much money. The best as you can get. it might not be Connoisseur Dave's great cannabis, yes. at the local connoisseur store. But it's still great cannabis because Mother Nature grows great cannabis anyway.
Or your great-grandpa's weed because he's been growing since he was 20.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this legalization has excluded not just the legacy people that got us to this point, but it has excluded the poor people and the sick people that need easy access, low barrier access, economical cannabis. And that's what has to happen.
What I found out is that not all pot shops on Indigenous land are Indigenous owned.
No, of course not.
Deroche has one on their land, and it's got stocked by BC Cannabis. I was like, whoa.
Yes.
Sorry, I gotta go. Yeah.
No, that's absolutely right.
Yeah, I always thought that they would want to do their own.
There's a real split amongst the Indigenous communities across Canada as to whether or not they want to go the government route, or whether or not they want to have their own non-government stores, or to whether or not they don't want to have cannabis available.
Wow.
There's a great divide amongst the Indigenous
But that's just
community.
the opinion of every, there's going to be some yes,
right,
some
but
no,
some bands have a zero tolerance policy for anything like that, and they're not interested in cannabis. Other bands are interested, but they don't want to run afoul of the federal law, mostly because they're being bribed. The government has representatives going out to these groups and bribing them.
Clean drinking water if you don't have it.
I'm not sure what they're bribing them with. I mean, for one thing, they're bribing them with taking away threats.
Yeah.
We won't come and raid you if you have our stores. We'll make sure that everything's legit, that you won't have to fear that, whatever it is. And the Indigenous people should stand up, should exercise their own sovereignty, should say, we can grow a plant, we can get it to people, we can decide whether the rich people are the only ones that get it, or whether or not we're going to allow the poor people in our communities to get it as well.
Exactly.
They need to stand up for their rights. Everybody needs to stand up for their rights with respect to what's available in your community. It is not okay that the rich get to have stores, and if you're middle class, you can walk into a store. If you're only a part-time user and you just want to buy some expensive cannabis for the weekend party or whatever, it's not okay that you have that ability, but somebody who's really struggling, both within their own physical being as to how they feel in their life, and with how much money they have to be able to deal with that, it's not okay that they don't get to have a store to walk into and get things that can be provided cheaply by those particular growers that want to provide it cheaply to people that need it for medical. There's going to be lots of them. Lots of them that can do that for sure. I would be one for sure.
Ron is saying that they do that in Ontario too. There's 3 stores on their res land, and they're run by the res, but supplied by the government.
That's right. That's what the government wants to do, is have them run it, but be supplied by the government.
Wow.
And that's not okay.
No.
We got to stop that.
Yeah.
You can't trust government weed, number one.
Nope.
They've been completely criminal in their packaging. What the heck are they thinking about? I mean, single-use hard plastic containers.
Yeah.
What?
And then 10 milligrams an edible as the maximum. So you got to buy 100 if you're like a 10-year smoker and you want to do some edibles. You got to buy like 10 of those things just to get 100 milligrams.
You can't see it.
No.
I mean, you can see it. Actually, they'll show you pictures.
Sometimes
they've got little buds under the magnifying, so you can see it, but they won't let you smell it.
No.
They won't let you. You don't want to touch it anyway. We usually don't let people touch it anyway.
No.
But still, it's still stupid at the government stores. Mostly, the price is way too high. That's the most biggest thing. It doesn't need to be that high, and the government is keeping it way the hell up there. At $10 a gram, that's $4,480 a pound. It's just a plant.
Wow.
The government does not deserve that much money. Aurora, Canopy, Tweed, they do not deserve that much money. They're growing huge scale. Like so many plants.
I know.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're making so much money at that price for what it costs to produce it. They're making an absolute ton. They might be in a position where they can't sell all that they're producing because nobody wants to, or not enough people want to buy their product. That's a different story. But what they do sell, for what it actually took to produce that, for them, pennies on the tens of dollars.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely
they laid off a whole
ludicrous.
bunch of people last year too, didn't they?
They're not meeting projections because they thought
shut
they
down
could.
that Langley place, I think, or most of it.
there's been a lot of condensing and selling off and lowering of expectations, and a lot of the stock prices have come way down. They've been divided. You know how they do that.
I have the list of chemicals in my phone that the government is allowed to use, that these people are using and smoking.
You can't trust them.
No,
you just can't trust them.
There's a list, like, it's huge.
And there's a big list of recalls already.
Yeah.
Because you can't trust them. Because they've already done a bunch of bad things. And they are every chance they... It's business. It's just business.
It's not
you
personal.
Can't trust people. You don't trust people. If you don't have the right, checks in place and things like that, I mean, there are ways to regulate to make sure things are da-da-da-da-da, but it's business. If you don't have those things in place, if you don't have inspectors, if you don't have checks, balances, and all those other things, they will cut corners. They will find cheaper ways of getting you a product that puts your health at risk. They will, because that's just business doing what business does.
And you said that we can't smell weed. Well, before the government stores, when you used to walk into a pot store, you had the opportunity of smelling the weed as it was being burned, right? They can't even do these in the government stores.
At our pot store
that
we had over there 1 block away at Main and Hastings there for 3.5 years, we had a lounge there. You could walk into the lounge. You could smoke the stuff before you bought it to see what it was and if you liked it. And then why the hell not? Why the hell not for any of this stuff? There's no good reason for any of it except for protecting financial concerns. And that's corruption. That's what we're upset about. There's no good reason for these restrictions. There's no logical reason. They're protecting people from cannabis far more than they're protecting people from commercial tobacco or alcohol.
Because
or a variety of things that are available in the pharmacy.
Right?
And why? Not because they're actually concerned about damage that's caused by cannabis. There's none of that. There's no reason for it that makes sense because of the consequence that's happened. It's not like they're responding to hospital wards full of people because they've been smoking weed. That's not it. No. They're responding to financial pressures from wealthy people that want to sell their product instead of people buying cannabis. And when that didn't work, when people continued to use cannabis despite criminal penalties, lots of jail time, and everything they were doing, when that still didn't work, now they decide to so-called legalize it, which allows them to be the ones selling cannabis to people. And I think they thought that they could, wipe out the underground marketplace and get all the people that use cannabis, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
They might have, if they would have let mom and pop come into the stores.
And let low barrier access happen.
They might have. They might have just done that, right?
They can still have not the whole marketplace, because people are always going to grow for themselves and their families and friends. Why the hell wouldn't they, and why the hell couldn't they?
There's people making their own wine and beer.
They can have the whole marketplace amongst people that don't have that hookup and want to have a store to walk into. If they had low barrier access as well as high priced cannabis for the connoisseur, then everybody would go to the stores. If they didn't have horrible regulations, if they weren't still criminalizing people, because that's the one I didn't get to. The big one is the price. It's still up there. Their prices for their quality weed is way above that $4,480 a pound.
So you got to do
way
a crime
above that.
to get the good weed.
But the other big problem with them is they're still arresting people. They're still putting people in jail. They're still taking away people's kids and families and houses and cars. This is still ongoing. And so as long as that's still part of the government's plan to sell you weed, don't buy their weed. If there was ever a good reason to boycott a company, there's a good reason to boycott them. They're still using our tax dollars, the criminal law, and profits from selling super expensive, irradiated or chemically sprayed weed to people. They're still using that to ruin people's lives. So that's the big one for me.
It sucks. It does.
But we're still winning.
We're still winning. Well,
we're win.
I'm not doing weekends anymore when I got
a
pocket full of weed.
In a corrupt world, they haven't killed me yet. Only because they don't think I'm a threat. Only because they don't believe we can ever get low barrier access.
We'll get it.
But with enough people helping us.
We'll get there.
And I'm not somebody that they could kill that would make the difference.
No.
If they could wipe me off and I was like the head of the snake and then the snake would just wither and die, then I'd have been gone a long time ago. But I'm just one of many,
when you cut off the head of the snake,
people.
There's always another one that
There's
comes
so many of you good people out there. So many Mary McCartys and William Hicks and Chris Backers and Neils and all the people.
All the people.
So many people that they know that if they take out any one of us that has some credibility or prominence, that's just going to enrage the rest. Yeah. And, you know, they're afraid of us. So let's keep doing what we're doing and trying to achieve what we've been after all the time, which is for the poor people, the sick people, for the average person, for the hippie, for the high school, the college student, for people that don't have a lot of money, and the sick people who really, really need to have some cannabis. You know how valuable it is to people when they're not feeling good and they can smoke a joint? You know how many times that has just been like the one... It has saved people's lives time and time again. It has saved the day for people time and time
saved
again.
My life.
We hand out joints here by the dozens every day for free to people that come and don't have money and they're hurting.
Yeah.
And man, are they happy when they get that joint and they come back and thank us for it.
Yeah.
You know, it just can make a person's day. It can save their life. It can be the difference between misery and suffering and feeling decent and okay. So yeah, it's not okay that they're still trying to restrict access and criminalizing people.
Dragging their feet.
And dragging their feet with us, you know.
Yeah, they're dragging their feet.
So anyway, I'm going to light one more of these.
All right, you do that.
This has been a long 420 session.
Yeah, it has been.
I want to say Jerry Martin has not been on the show for the last little bit, and he's really having some troubles in coping with life. If you're religious or even if you're not, say a little prayer for Jerry, and hopefully he can get through this. There's a lot of people that are helping him and are trying to help him and praying for him, and so that's why he hasn't been on the show for a little while. So if you can hold Jerry in your thoughts in a positive way and in your heart, I think that helps. And
this time this season can always be a little harder.
It's a tough time of the year to boot.
Christmas, New Year's,
and Jerry Martin, for anybody who doesn't know, is a person that we've been following on this program. He's been coming on this show most of the week since we've been doing it for over 2 years. He's actually been fighting for the last 5 years to try to get justice from the court system after having been operating a dispensary in Whitewood, Saskatchewan for 4.5 years, where he was raided and shut down because of legalization, and done so in a way that's been horrible for him in particular, as they stole his house, his cars, his bank accounts, and his dignity, and prevented him from helping the 1,000+ people that he had members of his dispensary there, threatened him with jail time, have been calling him a criminal. And it's been really, really, really difficult for Jerry to deal with that, as it would be for just about anybody. But Jerry's an emotional guy, and so
and with a big heart.
And with a very big heart. He was called the King of Compassion for a long time, and for good reason. He really did focus his attention on finding ways that he could help people that needed help, and that's what he did with what he got from how he was helping people. So anyway, that's something that I just wanted to pass on there, is that Jerry could use your prayers if you believe in such things. And even if you don't, and I personally believe in the power of prayer. Yeah. If done according to the way it's to be done religiously, if you focus in your mind on being thankful for having what it is that you want to have, that is the correct way to pray.
I'm thankful every morning, aren't I?
To give thanks.
I am thankful every morning.
You don't ask for things.
No.
You give thanks for that which you are about to receive, or that you have received, or that you are receiving. And let's hold a positive visualization of Jerry succeeding in his life, and believe that, and emotionalize that, and feel very positive about that. And I think that's what can happen.
You need the old power hum. Remember the power hum that they used to do on the radio for their favorite hockey team?
No.
They would go,
I like it.
When the Leafs were going to play, or the Canucks were going to play.
That's very zen.
Yeah, do the power hum. So we can do a little power hum for Jerry.
All of us right now can do the That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I love that.
Power hum. Yeah.
I saw a thing on Facebook, of course, of monks, Buddhist monks, that were all praying for the world, and there was I don't know. I think they
And
said there was
sounds like a
100,000.
hum. Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't see a video.
I've seen the video of that. I think.
They would probably be humming because that's part of how you summon things for sure.
Yeah, and don't they do it like in Christmas time or near the end of the year or something like, or maybe the end of their calendar?
Well, we do Christmas caroling.
Yes,
but
I'm just
a similar
phenomenon. Where they all get together. I swear,
sound and vibration are such an unappreciated part of our existence.
Yeah.
Really. The potential for sound in healing people, in moving large objects, in doing so much frequency of sound, and the way sound can be put together and manipulated.
You gotta watch.
So powerful.
Welcome to Earth.
Yeah.
On Disney, it's the Will Smith.
Yeah,
thing.
I did watch the first episode.
They just did the second one was about sound.
Oh, I just saw the. Yeah, well, wasn't the first one about sound?
Was it? Well, maybe it was the first one when the Mexicans were hammering. There was hammers, and you could see the sound go through the earth and stuff like that. Yeah, isn't that a great show?
And out there with the dolphins in the ocean,
down 1,000 meters.
I mean, I don't want to spoil this, but it's not a spoiler. You want to see this? Will Smith. He's lived a very sheltered life, believe it or not. He's not the action hero you think he is. That stuff was all faked in the movies that he did.
Yeah.
He'd never even stayed a night in a tent, let alone gone for a hike.
Yeah, he says that on the show. And that headless chicken thing. Did you see that? The red thing when he was down 1,000 feet, it looks like it's got wings, it's red, and it's in all the darkness, and it looks like a headless chicken, but it's alive, it's a fish.
It was just lava, wasn't it?
No, it's an actual living thing, yeah.
I see.
Wow, it was crazy. Amazing. And then they turn the lights on, and then they turn the lights off, and then they turn the lights on again, and then they turn it off, and then all the creatures of the iridescence.
Oh, this is underwater.
Yeah.
This is the underwater. Yeah. I thought you were talking about in the volcano. No. He goes to a volcano.
Yeah.
With a blind guy.
Yes.
And they're going up there to listen.
Yep.
Because it's one of the more quiet volcanoes, but they know there's lots of sound to be heard, and they want to hear it. So they got these, listening devices, is high sensitive equipment that they got, and they're climbing up this volcano, while the volcano's spewing all kinds of lava out. They're walking through like what looks like a minefield full of these great big boulders of black lava that has been shot up into the air and landed and hardened all around them over whatever period of time. And as they're walking, there's all the shooting up there. They got hard hats on, like as if that's going to stop a big chunk of lava coming through your head. But he said
the rule number one was when you felt that vibration, you had to look.
Yeah, you got to look up.
You had to look up and watch where that freaking lava is going, right?
And then hopefully get out of the way. Unless you're a blind guy. Although he says he can feel it.
Yeah, he can feel it and hear it too.
Then,
yeah, and hear it too, right? So
wow.
Hear things in front of him and behind him, he said.
I think they're nuts.
And then in the same show, they went to the deep spot in the earth where it was no sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember?
One of the only places in the world where they think there's no sound.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
Yeah.
This is a really good show, people.
When they're crawling through to get down there, and the space they're crawling through is about this tall and about this wide.
Yeah.
And they're like hundreds, if not thousands of feet already underground.
Yeah.
Where it's pitch black, except for the little light on your helmet.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be there.
No.
Would you be there?
No.
No way.
I couldn't get there.
No way.
No.
I don't like tight, confined spaces like that.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't like it if my light failed. Oh, man.
And then then there's two girls who are the deep sea divers that were swimming with the whales, and they could hear them because they didn't have air tanks on. Oh, this is a great show, people. It's Welcome to Earth.
I wouldn't climb up a live volcano.
National Geographic.
No. I wouldn't crawl through no.
Great show when you're stoned too, really, because it's cool. The shit that they show you, it's exciting. It's really
all shows are better with cannabis. That's the first thing you would do.
Yeah.
If you're going to sit down and watch a cool show, no matter what genre it is, first thing you would do, roll up some of the magical vapors. You know?
And when their hockey team's on and the first period's over, go roll some.
Roll up some of the sacred herb, inhale some of the magic vapors, and then enjoy the show. That's just the way things should go. Anyway, Glenn.
Well, I should get out there. I got parking to pay for or whatever. Yeah,
it's been a slice. I really appreciate you filling in and helping me out.
Next week we're giving away everything.
21st. You got 1 week to get a hold of us and help out if you want to help out. It's a wonderful thing to do. Everything we do here is volunteer. Nobody takes any money. Everything is by donation, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be part of. This program that I started belongs to everybody. I said that about the Freedom Tour when I used to do my trips across Canada on rollerblades back in the early 2000s. That belief belonged to everybody. The Cannabis Substitution Program belongs to everybody. If you want to start one where you are, I'll do nothing but help you do that and tell you you have my permission to use our stuff if that helps you. And yeah, same with
we're hoping to reach the $2,000 that we did last year. We're at 250 now.
It'll be good, whatever it is.
All 8 fingers are crossed.
We're going to help a bunch of people either way.
People
and those people that help people also get help.
Food, right? So
it's going to be
either way, and a smile, and
always great,
and a Merry Christmas.
It's always
see you next week, sir.
See you next week. Thank you. Have as much fun as you can.
I'll try.
So, the Cannabis Substitution Program, with the history that I gave at the start of the show, ended up in us being in an RV. And that's where we are to this day. It's been over 13 months now that we've been in the RV. We've gone through the heat dome in the summer. We've gone through, this is now our second winter. It might not be winter, Peg, but it gets pretty darn cold out there. We do our best with a little propane heater in the RV. But that's where we're at. So we're going to go and check with those folks and wrap it up that way. Come on for a visit. Let's have a look at downtown Vancouver. So it's a very cold and crisp day in Vancouver. It's been that way for the last little while. We're past most of the real heavy rains that we had, which has kind of devastated a lot of the Fraser Valley and cut off supply routes and things like that. But here in Vancouver, we haven't had those kinds of problems. It's been relatively cool. Let's go have a look. So this is our RV that many of you have seen time after time, and some of you might be seeing for the first time. This is the Ganja Mobile, the Healing Wave CSP Hippie Dippy van, Hippie Doobie van. There's so many different ways it's referred to around the neighborhood. It's become home for my team here of people that are trying to help out in the neighborhood. We have a lot of distress in this neighborhood with people that are struggling in their lives. When that happens to a person, they typically go where the services are, and this part of downtown Vancouver is where you'll find food and shelter and other things that people need. Unfortunately, they also find the drugs that they are looking for to get through, another night of pain or whatever it is that they're dealing with. Certainly their addiction. And so in many different places around here, you'll see a tent set up with a little bit of a lineup of people going in and out, or you'll see somebody standing on a corner turning their back and going like that. Those types of substances are readily available down here. And what we needed to make sure of is that there was this other option for them, the cannabis option, and that's what we've been struggling with governments to approve us for the last, actually, it's since 2004 when we opened the Herb School right over there, and we're there for 3.5 years providing low barrier access to people. We've been doing that here as well with the Cannabis Substitution Program for coming up to 5 years now. And this is where we are doing it. We're not in a tent or in a street corner, under a street lamp, but we're also not in a storefront, and that's what should happen, is people should be able to, with some dignity, be able to walk into a store and get what they need that isn't going to harm them in the way that they're being harmed by the substances that are available down here. And of course, over the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a tainted drug supply of poisoned street drugs that have been killing people at an alarming rate, to the point where it's a public health emergency and has been called an epidemic. And so that's why we're here doing what we're here. We'll just say a brief hello because there's somebody waiting for the window, and we don't want to keep people waiting too much. So hi, Jennifer Nelson, how are you?
I'm good.
George and Casey back there, how are you? We're going to come and visit the back door. Andrew's not in today, so unfortunately, don't get to see Santa. He's got lots of things to do, him being Santa and all. So we've got George, his favorite elf, that's looking after things for him.
How's it going?
It's going fairly well. This is the CSP door. This is where people in the Cannabis Substitution Program come. Every 4 days they can come and get 420 milligrams of their choosing. Show me, George, what are people choosing from today?
First we have our Gorilla Ganjas.
So Gorilla Ganja,
very popular.
It comes in 4 different types because there's full CBD, full THC, and then half and half with an indica and a sativa.
Had a run on indica today.
Did we?
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. We have 75 milligram cookies from Damien.
Right on.
We have our 40 milligram indica gummy caps. Or
Green Wilderness.
Well. Yeah. We have a chocolate donation.
S&M Sweet Shops.
People have been going through these like crazy today.
Yeah, they were here and on the show last week as well.
We have
and dropped off a wonderful donation of sweets that they make at the S&M Sweet Shop over in Seashell.
We've had a big run on our brownies again today. Almost out of those. So
I see, and the brownies are from Roberta.
Which we have none left out here now. They've run it completely. Yeah.
Holy smokes, there was quite a few there.
I know.
But we've got some cookies from Watermelon.
Yeah, we've got some cookies from Watermelon left. We still have our
caps from Dirty Dave's.
Our Keith caps.
Keith caps.
Of course, we have our joints.
Right. Topicals.
Topicals. I don't have any left out here today.
But we do have some. We recently got some more snake oil.
Oh, good.
The snake oil is really powerful for people. It really helps them in a lot of ways as well.
Very
popular, yeah. So we're doing a lot of good giving this stuff out to people here. We get so much praise from the people that we give it to. They're really, really thankful that they can do this. They're still blown away all the time that it happens, and they bring their friends to the RV, and their friends can't believe it either. Like, what, really? There's an RV and you can get cannabis there, and if you don't have any money, they'll still help you? So it's an amazing thing that we've been able to do for the last basically 5 years now. Thanks totally to the donators that have provided us with the things that we get to give out here. All of this is by donation. I mentioned a bunch of people that help us. There's a bunch of others as well. There's some that are anonymous, and they just give us stuff and they don't care if we mention them. And all of that is what makes this work. We're here to hand it out to people, but without those people donating it, we'd have nothing to hand out. So thank you so much to all those people. And if you want to help out, this is a great way to do it, and we could always use some more for sure. We're going to go around the other side, George.
Have a good one.
Where all the cool kids hang out. They let me visit once in a while.
Still no.
Still no.
See, we have somebody asking about it.
Yes.
We always have people asking about what.
We're daily asked about whether or not we've got our license. It's gone beyond ludicrous at this point. I'm not sure how they're ever going to sell this when they make a movie of what's happened here. That who's going to believe that with the work that we've been doing here for all this time, with the people that support us in the neighborhood, all the harm reduction groups, doctors, professors, city council, everybody supports us. We've presented that in a proper way to the federal government, who holds the key. They hold the key to whether or not we can do this or not. They just need to put a signature on a piece of paper and give it to us, and we can show it to the city, and the city will let us move back into the store, and then we can properly run this place, and then this can be an outreach vehicle, and then we can have another location somewhere, and then Mary, William, Chris, Jason, other people that are wanting to do this, Sterling, that they'll have a way to do it that's legitimized, that can be properly supported by local governments, by the people in the community. That's what needs to happen here. It should have happened such a long time ago. It's gone, like I say, beyond ludicrous that it's been this long. I can't even believe it. We're into our 2nd year in this RV. I gotta give some credit to what was his name now? Justice Majawa. Mr. Majawa. He ruled against us in our application to not be evicted from the store without a license, but to give us a 6-month adjournment while we worked on getting our licenses. And he said that he had no confidence that we'd be able to get our license within 6 months. And I thought that was ludicrous when he said that at the time. I thought that's ridiculous. With what we've been doing for all this time, the way that we're doing it, the support that we have, there's no nothing on the other side of a scale of whether or not we should be doing this or not. It's not like, yes, we're helping a bunch of people, but we're also, you know, it's dangerous. Or nothing. There's nothing on another side of a scale. There's only value to what we're doing here, except I guess we're going to cut into the bottom line profits, they think, of some of the government pot stores. Or maybe we're going to actually get people off of opioids, and the real big boys who have been profiting off of the addiction of people and off of the deaths of people aren't going to be happy about us coming in here and ruining their little party. But other than that, reasonable, ethical, logical people would all conclude quickly that what we're doing needs to be supported, and we shouldn't have to do it from an RV. We shouldn't have to do it looking over our shoulder, worried that maybe today's the day they're going to come and try to stop us for real. None of that should be happening here, yet it is. And that speaks to the level of corruption that's going on in our society and in our world. So we need to do something about that. We need to wake up about that. It's not okay that our governance is so corrupted that this is the situation that's evolved because of it. It's not okay at all. This is not an okay world where we're freer than everybody else on the planet in this country, and we've got a good democracy and public servants and you know, all of that. It ain't like that. If you can't have a store, if the government is so reticent to allow permission for free Canadian people to be able to walk into a store and get cannabis as reasonably as you can get any other fruit or vegetable, then this isn't right. This is very, very wrong. And when people are dying because of it, when there's sick people not being able to deal with their suffering because of it, when people are having their lives ruined to protect a government monopoly on something that everybody should be able to take part in, and then there should be no penalties for anything to do with growing or trading cannabis or using cannabis, never should there be any penalty for that. The only reason there'd ever be a penalty to do with providing cannabis, selling or growing cannabis, is if there wasn't enough cannabis in the world and you weren't growing your quota. That would be the only reason that would be justified for any sort of penalty to do with cannabis. There's not enough cannabis in the world. There's people suffering everywhere around the world that would love to have more cannabis. I'm sure that we're being listened to right now. I'm sure there's someone out there listening to me right now that doesn't have cannabis, that is in a place where it is so hard to get, that is so happy when they can actually go and score something, and they are so at risk when they do that. This all needs to change. You can be part of the solution. We can all be part of the solution. If more of us act to solve this, we've got some hope. We've got some chance. And I think there's a ton of good people, and if they just understood it, if they just understood that this world is really corrupt, and we need good people. We need good people all over the place. We need good people in government. We need good people in media. We need good people that will be activist people, that will stand up against the corruption, that will do what it takes to provide the freedom that our forefathers have died for and that we continue to struggle for. We can get this if enough good people get involved. So somehow, get involved. Anyway, that's what I got to say about that. Thanks to everybody for watching the show. Thanks to everybody who's been part of what we're doing here. Pot TV has been really good over the years. It's one of the first broadcast internet vehicles that happened here. The Pot TV's been going on for over 25 years, and I'm very privileged that at least I get this platform to be able to get this stuff off my chest. I have some passion, as you probably can notice, that you know that these things change, that we get some level of freedom that is reasonable in this world for the generations to come, for my kids and their kids, and it means something to me that we be able to address this. And the mainstream media doesn't really want to give you much opportunity to report. So I'm very thrilled that you know, Mark Emery and Greg Williams back in the day got Pot TV going, and it's been going ever since. And there's a ton of great material on there, a ton of truth, a ton of education, a ton of protest. And still going to this day. You can check out the archives and see a ton of different stuff that's been going on over the years, or you can turn in currently as well and watch this show every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Carly Marley, BC Bud Gal, 420 Lifestyle on Mondays. BC Bud Gal again on Thursdays with her Wake and Bake show called Morning Glory. And Johnny B with How Is It Growing, which is the best show to have, because you know that's been the thing of cannabis culture since the beginning. mantra of overgrow the government is what's worked to this point, and it is still the very best thing that we can do. If you can grow cannabis plants, grow cannabis plants. That'll prevent you from needing to go to a government store if there's nothing else around you, and that'll help get other people cannabis that otherwise might also go to a government store. And if we all don't go to the government store until they decide to allow everybody to have a store and to have low barrier stores and to not ever penalize people again for anything to do with cannabis, just like nobody gets penalized for anything to do with tomatoes or grapes or any of those things, then we'll go to the government stores. Then we'll support what they're doing. But in the meantime, we need to support each other in growing as much as we can, in trading amongst ourselves, in finding good sources for each other that aren't government sources, and write letters, make phone calls, send emails, talk to local politicians, talk to the media, anybody you can that can move our issue forward, that can get us to that point where the government has to cave in and give ordinary people permission to have cannabis grown for them that is reasonably priced, that can help them with whatever it is they need help in their life with. So that's what needs to happen. We can all be part of that solution if we work hard towards it and have some fun, because it is fun. You know, it's one of the it's fun. Hi, what's going on?
I just wanted to see if you mentioned the poor bastard in Victoria that got a fine, $230 fine for smoking a joint near a consumption site.
Yeah, in fact, in between a liquor store and a supervised consumption site.
No, I don't think it was a liquor store. It was a consumption site and an injection site or something. From what I heard on Facebook, I don't know.
There was two different sites, and it wasn't the liquor store, because I'm the one who then said, yeah, and there was probably a liquor store across the street. So I remember that now. But yeah, some poor guy.
Apparently he's homeless too.
Some poor homeless guy.
Bad enough, but smoking a joint outside makes you a fucking criminal. Apparently.
Wow.
Even though it's legal now.
So.
Like, so yeah, I don't understand that.
I don't understand that at all either. And municipalities have their own fines and bylaws for things like that. That's how a lot of them.
People set fines for smoking a cigarette within 30 meters of a door.
You don't hear much of that.
No.
Or for smoking crack outside,
there probably is some.
Outside, or
maybe, I don't know if the person, cigarette smoker, would stick around long enough for the guys to get there. To get bylaw, right? Because it always takes them a long time.
Yeah, and you'd probably hear about it if there was something like that. If a cigarette smoker got a $230 fine, a homeless cigarette smoker, you know.
Wow. Oh, I also saw today on Facebook about a Mountie that was a veteran, just won a discrimination case because he got kicked out of a bar for rolling a joint in his lap, even when he clarified that it was medical.
And even if it wasn't, weed is legal.
But he won. He won.
Good.
So that's awesome.
Let's keep winning.
Right.
Let's keep fighting these things. Bob High at his place there, they weren't going to allow anybody to smoke anything on the patio there, while he insisted, and he continued to smoke, and they continued to threaten him until he threatened them back. And he said, look, this is my medicine. I'm using it whether you like it or not, and if you don't like it, and if you're going to try to force me to not use it, then I'm going to go get my lawyer involved. Well, next thing you know, they got up a new sign that says, you can smoke cannabis on the patio, you just can't share it with other people. But, you know, that's a win, and we got to keep getting these wins, because it's not right that they do that. People, if they're inhaling vapors for something that's helping them in their life, as long as they're not blowing it in the face of somebody who really doesn't like it, it's of no more of an issue than people who are wearing perfume, or people who are having a barbecue, or people who didn't wash their socks for a week. You know, it's not something we want to have going on. The cops, if they find some homeless guy smoking a cigarette where he's not supposed to smoke it, they'll just tell him to move along. But if somebody's smoking a joint, they zoom in on him and arrest him and make a big deal out of it, because that's what's been going on with cannabis for all this time. The guy smoking the joint is way smarter and helping himself. The guy smoking the cigarette is poisoning himself slowly and making cigarette companies rich. And which one should we really be concerned about? Neither. But if we were going to be concerned about either of them, it wouldn't be the guy smoking a joint. So the world's still upside down and backwards, very corrupt, and we need to fix it. What else you guys got to say? Sorry that I didn't...
That's okay.
How are you, Casey?
Pretty good. Yeah, I'm doing well.
Yeah. I couldn't be on the show today because you had to work.
I was working today.
You are? This is,
I still am.
This is work. She's testing drugs.
With a pipe in her hand. Yeah, I'm at work.
This is part of the work. People need to test what we're putting out there.
Yep.
And what is the flavor you're testing at this point?
Super lemon haze.
Oh, okay. One of our better sativas.
It's too bad you didn't make it out here when it was still daylight, so you could show off our beautiful van that one of our lovely members cleaned for us.
It's dark before I start the show now.
I know.
But
It's the problem with winter.
But because of Glenn and his thankful posts, I know that in 8 days, the days start getting longer again.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Glenn Wells, every morning he wakes up and he writes out something that he's thankful for.
And he almost stopped. I remember when he was going to stop.
I'm glad he didn't stop.
Yeah.
I'm thankful
Yeah.
that he didn't stop. I do my thankful things every day too. I don't do it online.
Well, I think it has spread because, like, Mandy LaBelle has also been adding nice little quotes to her posts.
I think it's
she's
important. I think it's a
thankful
powerful thing to be thankful.
It is.
You know?
A lot of people forget to think about what they have in life. You know what I mean? It's all about what they don't have.
It's all about whether you think you're lucky or unlucky.
Yeah.
And if you're thankful, that's an indication that you're lucky. You know what I mean?
Gratitude.
It's gratitude.
Hence why somebody cleaned our van for us.
Yeah.
He's so grateful to have
And he,
us
and he
here.
wouldn't even take, and the guy's in his 70s.
74 years old.
I mean, I'm not there yet, and I'd have trouble washing this van.
And did it in the dark.
In the
He
dark.
didn't have a light with him or anything.
Wow.
And he did every
that's
side
awesome.
of it all around. And wouldn't accept anything in return because he is so grateful to have us here.
Isn't that nice, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody else came today and gave us a great big tarp, basically,
For all the people that we need to kill,
of
you know.
really thick poly. Like really thick poly.
For all the bodies we need to get
And
rid
he
of.
said,
Dexter, are you?
he said, I heard you had a leak in your roof, and I said, well, I kind of fixed it with silicone. He says, well, I still want to give it to you. And I said, well, what would you like for it? And he says, nothing. It's a donation. It's for you guys for being here, and because it's close to Christmas. And he said, if you had, you know, some good duct tape or something, you could probably make a boat out of it. So I thought it's a do-it-yourself boat that we were given today.
Roll your bag gently down the street.
Or George, roll his joints gently in the van. Yeah. How many did you roll today, George?
Oh, only, what, 39, but we was sort of
I'm going to have
rushed.
to crack the whip a little harder, huh?
39, but who's counting, eh?
They were all the expensive ones.
Right, the ones that we put butter in.
Yeah, the ones we put butter in.
Some
yes.
people want those expensive joints with butter in them. We also have joints that do the job for $1, and then it moves up from there. We don't normally talk about those sorts of things on the show just because we're afraid of the authorities. Oh my God! But
See, I hear sirens are coming
and here comes
for us.
sirens.
As soon as you mention them, they come for us.
But it's been well over a year since we had our conversations with them, and those conversations happened after they raided us. So it's been well over a year since that all happened, like over 13 months. So it's been a year. It's been a year. Probably maybe it was a year ago today. So not maybe well over a year that I had the conversation with Candace Murphy, the VPD cop, who said that they really felt bad that we hadn't gotten our license yet, and that they really hoped that we would get our license, but in the meantime we were going to have to stop doing what we're doing. And I told her, no, we can't stop. And she said, no, this is the VPD telling you at this time on this day that you have to stop doing what you're doing. And I said, no, I'm sorry, but we won't stop. And she says, well, then we'll come and arrest you.
Well, and how come they don't do that to everybody, you know, do other shit
maybe
on
they
the
do
street?
give them those ultimatums as well, and then they don't do it either. But yeah, I said, you know, if you arrest me, there's 10 other people who are going to take my place. And if you take our vehicle, we'll go get another one every time. And we won't stop. And maybe you don't care about these people, but we do. And we can't stop. And why won't you read my letters that are from doctors that tell you that if we stop, people will die? And so we had a nasty end to that conversation. That's where we left it. And we never got arrested, and they never came and took our vehicle. And for a brief time, they came. They sent the big manager of parking to tell us that we couldn't park here more than 2 hours, and he was going to have us towed away. But he never did. And I also told him the same thing, that you know, we would be in it, and they can't tow it when you're in it, and that if he wants to give us fines every day, that we would pay the fines every day. But it wasn't very nice of him to do that to people that are trying to help people get off of opioids here. And so yeah, we've had no more trouble from them, no more tickets from them. We do pay parking all day, every day, 7 days a week, because
Maybe not all day. I skip little bits of time here and there, but
not with the blessing of the boss, you know.
Let the city hear that.
We have such a huge stack of parking tickets, you wouldn't believe it. Or not tickets for the vehicle for being parked here, but tickets because we paid for parking. We get a ticket, what do you call it? Show me one.
show up.
This is very, very alike a lot of them, and the key thing that makes it very much alike all the other ones that we get is that this one was good until 4:20 in the afternoon, because Jen's got this thing about 4:20 in the afternoon, so she goes and times it out so that she's putting money in there at just the right time and just enough money. And so yeah, we've got quite the huge envelope of these things for sure.
Yep.
There you go. And yeah, we'll probably be back here again next week with a similar report. But maybe, just maybe, next week we'll be here to tell you that, hey, we got a call from somebody up top there, and they're going to give us that piece of paper with a signature on it. Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it be great if it happened on the day of our giveaway?
You know, it should have been yesterday. Maybe it'll be tomorrow. But one of these days for sure. Yeah.
And our giveaway is next Tuesday, isn't it?
It is, the 21st. We've talked about that a couple of times during the show. We're going to have the Tubes and Doobs annual giveaway of joints and socks. That should be great. And yeah, I will say that you know, our campaign here is ongoing. I am consistently writing letters to different people about this. I wrote one to the new Federal Minister of Mental Health and Addictions about 3 weeks ago now. Might be close to a month, and I haven't heard anything back. This week I wrote a letter to Lisa Lapointe. She's the chief coroner in British Columbia. I saw her on the news quite upset about the amount of people dying, so I wrote her a letter and told her about what we're doing and how we're doing it, and how we can't seem to get media coverage and we can't seem to get government support. And pretty sure that she's also, in her capacity, recognizing the level of corruptions involved, the amount of money that's being made off the addictions of people and the deaths of people. It is really, really horribly disgusting. But we continue on, and one of these days that just might happen. In the meantime, help us out if you can. Write letters, make phone calls, all that kind of stuff. There's reason for hope, and the more people that write letters and make phone calls, the more reason for hope there is. And hope is a wonderful thing, so let's keep that all going. This is the time of year when we hope that people find some peace, that the spirit of giving takes over, and the people that need get what they need. And it's a great time of the year to be thinking about those sorts of things. And it's a time of year when many people struggle because of their history with Christmas or breakups of families and numerous different things. And for all of those people, let's try to be kind to them and use the spirit of giving to try to get them into a place that's better for them. If we all try a little bit that are doing well, all the people that aren't doing well will notice it and probably do a little bit better. So be kind to them, be kind to yourself, and until I see you next time, as always, make sure have as much fun as you can.